Uh, okay, we are live. Um, I apologize, everyone, for the technical delays. I think I said 60 seconds like 5 minutes ago, so well, how does time work? I don't know. Um, I. Sorry. Okay, so.
Hello. Hello,
Hi,
everyone.
hello. It's been a hectic couple of minutes as we've been trying to figure out how to do this. So I guess we'll start with some introductions. I don't, if you've somehow found I don't know how you possibly could have found yourself here without knowing who we are. However, just in case, hi, I'm Nicole Sweeney. I am the co-founder of SnarkSquad.com.
Hello, my name is Marines. I am the co-founder of SnarkSquad.com.
Yes. So, yes, fashionably late. Thank you. Thank you. That's the one. Uh, Star Squad, we do like recaps and other things. We have a podcast as well. And we on that podcast did this whole project where we went through all of the MCU movies, like building up to the release of Endgame was the second one. I
Endgame.
always forget, like Infinity War, Endgame, up to the release of Endgame. And so that was like our big finale, our big finish, and then Homecoming. We also did an episode on Homecoming. We're now at a point where if we want to, we can in theory just keep doing an episode every time they come out to stay on top of this. The Snark Squad, like the recap sort of website, also has started recapping all of the Netflix shows. I don't know. I'm not doing that. Are you guys done? Is that, or is that just like in
Oh
progress?
no,
Okay.
yeah, it's still in progress.
All right.
We did one. We're in season 2 of Daredevil, and we did one full season of Jessica Jones. So
Okay.
that's how much we got through.
Okay. So there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit more to do of that. But
Yeah,
the point is, we've covered like a lot of MCU ground on Snark Squad, mostly on the podcast and on the blog. And so something that we've sort of thought about doing for a while now is the idea of like, what if we just hopped on and did a live for. I think I've decided that this is annoying. I'm gonna move this one up. Sorry about that. Okay. uh, we decided that it would be really fun to do something like this, where we're like talking about a TV show sort of in real time. Our approach is usually like after the fact, we come back and like talk about our total feelings. But this seemed like a really good. We thought about this for a lot of things, but this seemed like a really good fit because it's an MCU thing, and because like I personally was super excited about this. Like even if we had decided to just do a podcast episode about it, I would have been watching it real time and then like probably would have rewatched it to prepare for the episode. But
right.
like so since with this is the thing I was going to be doing anyway, and you're pretty much always willing. So
Correct.
that's sort of how we landed here. Because unlike the other TV shows, this is like uh, the other things that Marvel has done for TV have felt like tangential, like they're loosely sort of there. Like I watched all of Agents. I've seen all of it. Like I watched all of Agents of Shield. I've seen all of the Netflix stuff except for what's his Iron Fist. I didn't watch his series. Everybody else's things I've watched. So like I've seen all of it, and all of those things. Like it's like a one way, like they are affected by what happens in the movies, but like there's no sort of like two-way communication. But it seems like the stuff that they're doing on Disney Plus is like interwoven now. So that's all
Correct.
very
And
exciting.
they're counting it as like phase 4 thing. You know what I mean? Like it is in
Yeah.
the actual phase, which is really interesting.
Yes. So that was like a lot of setup. I will say, in case it was not already clear, that this is going to be like aggressively spoilery. For like we are not going to withhold spoilery information. I actually really don't think that for these first two episodes it is anything that we're going to say is a problem. But I also don't care that much about spoilers. So like your mileage may vary, but I really don't think I think that if you've watched a trailer for this show, nothing that we're going to say is gonna ruin anything for you. Like there was nothing deeply surprising, I don't think, in these first 2 episodes. But we're gonna start with like a quick synopsis of both episodes.
Is it?
Oh, so they launched this morning. I think at like 3 a.m. Eastern time is when they make these things go live. But I've been up since like 5 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't sleep. So I watched them real early in the morning, and they released 2 episodes. So episode 1. The show basically starts out as Bewitched, but with Wanda and Vision. Like that's sort of the vibe. It's we're dropped without context into a black and white 50s sitcom about their like zany life in the suburbs, and like trying to blend in and like hide the fact that they are superheroes. The first episode's sitcom plot is that there is a heart on the calendar for that day, and neither of them remembers why, but they won't admit it to the other. And so once Vision goes to work, because he has his job, he has to like make his face not be red and look like a human, so he can go into his job at where they compute things. that's what they do. And Wanda's new neighbor, Agnes, played by Catherine Hahn, comes over with some with some prodding from Agnes. Wanda concludes that the heart must be their anniversary. So Wanda and Agnes scheme for all of the ways that Wanda should get ready for Vision to come home for their anniversary. So she gets a like nightgown and whatever. Meanwhile, at work, Vision learns that the heart was shorthand for dinner with his boss and his boss's wife, so Mr. and Mrs. Hart. The Harts arrive and shenanigans ensue. Again, like 50s sitcom shenanigans ensue as Wanda is primed for like the wrong evening, and then they have to sort of scramble to assemble a meal and a like suitable, happy suburban couple routine to appease the boss. Which they successfully pull off in the end. The boss leaves and says, you're gonna get a promotion tomorrow, basically is like the vibe. However, during all of that, so that's the like sitcom plot of the episode, and I get the feeling that there's going to be like a sitcom plot for every episode. There's going to be kind of two plot threads. So that was the sitcom plot. There are undercurrents of wrongness to everything. So a couple times Wanda finds herself suddenly very confused or feeling like there is an answer to a simple question that feels just out of reach, like questions about who they are and why they're there, and like yes, they're trying to sort of lie about who they are to blend in, but like these questions feel like things that she just is like, that is a really interesting question. Who are we? Why are we here? Gradually, during dinner, they start kind of telling their story to the Hearts, and have this moment where like both Wanda and Vision like don't know how to answer, and gradually Mr. Hart becomes like more and more insistent. He starts like pounding on the table as he's like getting angrier and angrier, shouting, "Why are you here?" Until he is interrupted by like choking on his food. He chokes. He's like on the floor dying basically, and Wanda and Vision again are just like staring at each other, pretty motionless, and his wife is like, oh, stop it, but then like she keeps repeating that, and that sort of escalates into like a more like panicked version of that oh, stop it. And then Wanda kind of comes to her senses a little bit and tells Vision to help him, and so Vision, with his like magic, being able to go through stuff, like plucks the offending object out of Mr. Hart, and once Mr. Hart like stands up, comes back to himself, it sort of snaps into the end of the evening. If this were a normal sort of sitcom episode, and he's like, okay, it's time to go, good evening, had a great time with you guys, and he heads out the door. Wanda and Vision are confused at first, but then they also like settle back into this is just a normal sitcom thing. And at the end of the episode, they again sort of go through like, we're kind of weird, but she magics them some rings, and then it ends with the sort of I Love Lucy like heart on the two of them, and then pans out to like a TV control room. I think this is the first full color moment of the episode. Then we can see that like a TV control room that like all is not well in Wanda and Vision's world, and that's the end of episode 1.
Okay, episode 2. We join Wanda and Vision again in their sitcom life. And this time Wanda's waking up in the middle of the night. They're in their 2 separate beds, which is something I always find hilarious. Because Wanda is hearing like strange noises coming from outside. So she keeps magicking the light on, and Vision like finally wakes up and he gets up to investigate. At first, he doesn't see anything, and then he's too scared to go investigate, which is also hilarious because, bro, your Vision. Um, and then finally, they kind of decide that what's causing the noise is like a tree hitting against their window. The next day, Wanda and Vision are practicing for a magician act for a neighborhood fundraiser, like talent show. And they're hoping that by participating, they'll be able to better blend in with everybody, like, blend in with the neighborhood. So Wanda heads off to go meet with like the planning committee, and Vision decides that he's going to join a meeting for the neighborhood watch because of the strange noises that they heard the previous night. He's like, you never know about danger out there. On the way out, Wanda has another one of these moments where we realize that something is not right when she sees like a child's toy in her bushes, except it's in color. So it's a very Pleasantville moment where the color starts seeping in. So she finds this toy and she kind of looks at it and has a moment. At the planning meeting, Wanda meets Dottie, who is the neighborhood HBIC, and she highlights a lot of ways that Wanda feels like strange and different and out of place. And the show highlights this further because Wanda befriends the one black lady in town. You get it? They're both outsiders. Later, when Wanda and Dottie are alone, Wanda's trying to like smooth over her first bad impression, but she suddenly starts hearing like on the radio somebody's calling out to her like, Wanda, Wanda, where are you? Where are you? Who has you there? And so Wanda's having this moment of again of like something's not right. The radio sparks and Dottie smashes the glass that she's holding in her hand and she starts bleeding, but then she starts bleeding in color. So again, another moment of like something is wrong here. Vision, meanwhile, has like shown up uninvited to the neighborhood watch, and he thinks that they're really there to like talk about safety protocol, but the bros are actually just eating and gossiping, which is like dead on for every book club that I have ever been in. that right there. So Vision is kind of
I love
fumbling
the implication that like as book clubs are to female friendships, neighborhood watch groups are to suburban male friendships. I love that. Great.
Yes. So Vision like is trying like, he's not making a good first impression either. He like they're eating and he can't eat, and he's being serious about safety, and the bros just want to gossip. But then the men decide that like his wacky hijinks are funny, like he's trying to be funny, and to fit in, Vision grabs a piece of gum and he's like, well, this isn't for eating, it's for masticating. So he just like starts chewing gum, but when another guy like jovially slaps him on the back, it makes him swallow the gum. And in a very 60s sitcom fashion, we see like the animation of the gum heading into his stomach and literally gumming up his gears. So things are not right internally. Later at the talent show, Vision shows up, still all gummed up, and he's acting like as if he's intoxicated, right? He's drunk. So he's doing this magic act, essentially drunk, and he starts using his real powers to do things like fly and lift a piano and pass a hat through his body. So Wanda has to use her powers to cover up for him, making jokes and like magicking a rope so everybody can see he's not really flying and things of that nature, and the audience loves it. Backstage, Wanda's like, what's wrong with you? And Vision, like, and then she can kind of see that Vision's gears are stuck, so she magics the gum out and he's fine. And so they get home, where we get this like second happy sort of sitcom ending where they happily reflect on a successful and salvaged outing, and then they realize that Wanda is pregnant, like suddenly. They hear another loud noise outside and they go investigate, and they see basically a beekeeper climbing up out of a manhole. So it's another moment of like dissonance for Wanda, and she starts to panic, and that kind of triggers a rewind and it resets us right before we hear the noise. So it's just them realizing she's pregnant, they kiss, they're happy, and suddenly color spreads all over the picture, probably signifying another decade jump so that next time we'll be in the 70s. That's episode 2.
And that's episode 2. There were also apparently commercials at the end, as like in like cutscene style, but I didn't actually see either of them. I will attempt to go back and watch them later, but after once I finished watching at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. actually is when I watched them. I then had to work, so I have not had time to go back and try. I need to tell Disney Plus to stop auto playing. Because this is Marvel stuff, so we have to. Yes. There's something at the end of the credits. That was like a real like platform fail, in my personal opinion, to do that. They needed to time that better, or like Disney Plus, the app needed to be more prepared for it. I'm not sure, but I didn't like that. So anyway, that is these 2 episodes.
Yes.
So, first things first, we're going to start where we always start. Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved it so freaking much. And I mean, we'll get into the like deep dive conversation, but I was prepared to enjoy it, but not like primed to love it like you were. I think part of that is because I mean, I really do like Scarlet Witch too. I know she's like a favorite for you, but also by the time that we got to the end of the MCU stuff, I was over it. I was so over it. It was like the project just like zapped me of my will to consume MCU stuff. So I was still kind of in that headspace. It's gotten better. It's been enough time now that I'm fine. I was still kind of hesitant. And so I'm like so freaking like pleased that I loved these 2 episodes.
Yeah, our last MCU episode, I think Homecoming was like summer 2019, like June or July maybe, 2019. And so, a year and a half and like 17 months of March later, you're now
a lifetime.
You're now ready to get back into it. I think that's like probably broadly the case too. Like I feel like so that was not my experience. I was like, fine, whatever, we're all in. But I definitely understood kind of the broader like superhero fatigue that I feel like a lot of people were having. So I think the pushbacks ultimately like probably are working to their favor. Like this feels better, like there's been some time away and now it is like now we can do this again. But yeah, Scarlet Witch, I mean, yes, so I don't read comic books, but I bought like 3 volumes of Scarlet Witch comics. So yes, I did very much love her, but we both did. We talked about this actually a lot on the MCU episodes, about like the degree to which if you watch Infinity War, she's the strongest Avenger. Like, but I will accept no disagreement. She's the strongest Avenger. If it weren't for the Time Stone, she would have single-handedly defeated Thanos while mourning her dead lover that she had to kill.
Correct. She is the best one.
Yeah. And yeah, like I think she is just a super interesting character. I loved it. Sorry. Back up. Yes, I loved it. I was primed to love it. So like this is of all of the Disney Plus things, this is the thing that I was the most excited about. Even some of the things that I was like, whatever, I actually I'm now also excited about. Like all the promo stuff that they've put out is kind of cool. But this was always the one that I was most excited for. And then when they started putting out like teasers for it, I also was really like the vibe of it. The vibe of it is exactly what I thought it was going to be from the promos, and I am not disappointed, but I sort of suspected that I would, because it's a mix of just a lot of like meta TV stuff, and then also I don't know, I really enjoy things that make me feel like a little bit uneasy. And it's actually from doing the podcast that I have like discovered this love. I think like probably starting around the time of the Annihilation episode, like it's one of my favorite episodes of the podcast, just because we were deciding how we felt as we were talking about it. But like, it's also the thing that lives the strongest in my memory, like, maybe not the strongest, but it lives very strongly in my memory, because of that like I don't know what's going on here, man. But I do prefer to have like slightly more of a footing than I did in Annihilation. But anyway, so that like that energy combined with all of the TV stuff, combined with the fact that this is like one of my like top, her and Captain Marvel are the two Avengers that I'm the most invested in. So like, I was primed to love this. I did love this. To the MCU stuff. I was like, there was something else I wanted to say. The MCU stuff. Like I said, was sort of all in. I had seen basically everything. I had seen most of the stuff even before we went into that project, and then was also like I watched all however many seasons of Agents of Shield. Watched all the Netflix stuff. Was already into it. And in the time, in the year and a half, I was gonna say that I haven't rewatched anything, but that is absolutely not true because I have rewatched both Captain Marvel and Thor Ragnarok more than once because it's just a good time. I don't know.
And those are probably like in my top as movies, MCU movies as well. I have not rewatched anything. Like no. And the thing is that it's not superhero fatigue. I love superheroes. I love classic stories of good guy defeat bad guy. Yay. Like that and there's
Yay, good guy wins.
Yes, I love it so much. And there's an aspect of like chosen one that always goes hand in hand into superhero stories that I really love. I was like MCU fatigued for some of the decisions that they made later on. And because I like some of those later movies weren't my favorite in ways that it was almost exhausting to talk about. And like the decisions that they made at the end, some of the people who died, like all of the stuff we've talked to like ad nauseum, like that was more of the fatigue. And so I was just kind of tired, put it aside, it was fine. But I think they did such a good thing here in picking like a character that was part of all of that and an integral part like we've talked about, but also separate from sort of like the core five or whatnot that we started the journey with. So I think Wanda and Vision were 100% the right couple to pick to like and introduce this next phase. And I agree that the best part of this so far, and probably what people will disagree with, well, like the main thing is that this is so weird. It's so weird and it's so good.
Yes, yeah, I think I watched it first this morning, and that was like I like got on to tell you I was like I love this. There are lots of things that I love that other people don't like because they're trash and like other people have taste and like that. But then there's this other category of things that I love that other people don't like that I do think are genuinely good, but they're weird enough that it is very much a like your mileage may vary. This may or may not be for you. But we are both over in the this is for us. We are the audience that this exists for. One other thing that I do want to say about the larger MCU thing, I think the other thing too is that by the time we got to the end, like Infinity War, by the time we did that, or Endgame, by the time we did the standalone Endgame episode, we had caught up, and so we were like in the discourse too. Yes, is the other thing. Yes. Like the first, like phase 1 and 2, we were so far behind. Like the discourse was us. Like that was it. There was nobody else talking about, or we were not concurrently, on Twitter also hearing other people's takes on Iron Man 2. Like that was, we got to go into that in our own little bubble, and that was fine. But like having to do Infinity War with like all the Infinity War takes was a lot. So and it like compounded the feelings. Like the things that I didn't like, I felt more intensely because there were some people who did like those things. It was annoying.
Right. And I keep thinking about like, this is such a big pop culture thing. So I keep thinking about like the range of people I know that enjoy the MCU. And I think about them watching WandaVision, and in my head, I just clearly see like the half or like 75% of people I know is going to look at this and be like, what the hell? Because this is like nothing like, I don't know, anything that has been in the MCU before. It is very like particular and specific thing. But for the people that I think can get with the weirdness, that can kind of wait, because you can see it's piecing something together very slowly, and we'll see how slow that kind of happens. But also, I don't know, TV lovers, like, this is like a TV show for TV lovers in a way that I was just so happy with.
Yes. So that's actually the first question we ended up elaborating on. Did you like it? For had a
Oh,
lot
sorry.
more to say about that. No, I think that like it flowed naturally. But the thing that I really wanted to ask is, or that I think is useful in much the same way as Did You Like It, that is useful for setting the stage, is like background with sort of classic TV shows. Because one of the things that I think, in addition to your appreciation for the sort of like weird, I don't know what's going on here, storytelling, I think the other thing that's really going to affect how this will land with people is the degree of familiarity that you have with the shows that this is riffing on.
Right. For me, it was like an immediate thing of being thrown into my nostalgia. We talked about this a little bit, but I was a huge Nick at Night watcher, like as a kid, because it was what my dad and I watched together. Like my sisters and my dad, we would get together, and it was like the common ground for us was like National Geographic and Nick at Night were the things my dad would be able to watch with us. So we watched a ton of old sitcoms and like dating back to like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie and all of that, but also like things that I'm sure we will see, maybe we will see Rift, like the Brady Bunch and things like that
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
are kind of further down the line. So it was an immediate, like even the humor is like so in line with what those sitcoms were in a way that just felt good to watch. And I was laughing at sort of like just the wholesome and the way that they captured it so well. I loved it. It was like both feeding that like feeling of unease of like something we know something's not right.
Uh-huh.
She's catching on to the fact that something is not right, but also ha 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 sitcom like both things at the same time.
They're doing real magic and she has to make it look like fake magic. LOL.
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
I think so. Yeah, I had a similar thing. Like, I also watched so much Nick at Night as a kid. I never had a bedtime as a kid. So, so like that's part of it.
Classic Sweeney family.
Didn't have a bedtime. My mom also stays up super late. Like, and then, once I started being homeschooled, I especially kept like really bonkers hours. So I watched so much Nick at Night as a kid. So like I Love Lucy,
Yep.
and Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie. Yes, like I remember watching all of those things. Happy Days was also a big one for actually as a teenager. And like probably well into my college years, if you had asked me like my favorite TV shows, Three's Company absolutely would have been on
Oh
that
my
list.
God, it was our favorite.
Yes. So I'm really hoping that's like what I'm looking forward to now that we're getting into the 70s. I'm like, ooh, please, give me that. So all of
Come and
that
knock on
stuff.
my door.
Yeah. All of that stuff is like, I'm very into it. So yes, I similarly had that sort of like nostalgia pull. I want to, Nick in the chat said something that I think is interesting. But he said, I'm struggling with WandaVision. I feel like I got the joke about the quote unquote TV show thing, and I'm just waiting for the story to start, but it may just be my own impatience. And we haven't talked about this yet, but I think that is actually also something else that's very like, your mileage may vary about this, but I think we both of us are like on board for this. The storytelling is super slow. Like that is also that the sort of central story about like what's happening here is a like very very slow to reveal itself mystery. Or I mean, I guess we've only seen 2 episodes, but like that is what that's what they have set up in these first 2 episodes, is that like this is going to require some patience. And I think that goes back to your point about the ways in which this doesn't actually feel like it is. If you loved a lot of the big like the big theatrical
Right.
releases, this very slow mystery. And I read some reviews from critics who saw the first, like, I think half of the season is what they sent to critics, and that is a thing that I also saw in reviews. Most of the critics seem to have very good things to say about it, but that is a thing that was pointed out again and again as like a way in which this is going to work for some people and not others, is that mystery plays out super slowly. And like, in the half a season that the critics got to see, they also, still, we still don't know what's going on yet. We're also excited. I think I do think that is something that I saw in the reviews that also feels like it is maybe true. I don't think it's going to be a problem for me, but is the way in which that slow storytelling is going to hurt binge, like audiences that are used to binging, and like trying to do that in this like weekly format is maybe that is like a bad idea. Um, and I can see that. I think that if you are on the fence, like if you're not as fully bought in, that may be a thing that like holds you, puts you in the I don't really like this camp, not being able to like go through it and like get to the end and find out the answer to the big mystery.
What's happening, right?
Um,
Which I think both you and I are not always, but like story consumers where like the big thing at the end isn't usually our pull. And even if right now I knew what the big thing at the end, that wouldn't necessarily ruin the experience for me. So this is very much in a format that seems like for me as the type of media consumer that I am. But also apart from that, these were so short. They were quick episodes. So it didn't feel like it was dragging me along for too long. It was literally like a sitcom episode, and each one had little like Easter eggs of things are not going right for me, where that like whetted my appetite enough that I was like, okay, I'm hooked. And it didn't feel like it like a slow start to me at all. Like it was very much an introduction with the things that I wanted to see to let me know that more was coming. So it was like perfectly paced for me.
yes, yeah, I 100% same page. Uh, so I guess now character time. That's that's where we usually go.
Yeah.
Usually a lot sooner, but we had. I think that that's going to be the case. Like sort of every week when we're talking about this is uh, like all of that big thematic stuff is going to end up being a big part of what we wind up talking about. But
Yeah.
I don't. How did you feel? How did you feel about Wanda in WandaVision?
uh cool. This is great. It's interesting because I think that it's not very overt, but in WandaVision, you kind of feel like this is very much Wanda's story, and that Vision is kind of playing like a background role almost into what's going on. And you do see that she's the one who's starting to notice that things are off. And we kind of know probably why that's happening because what of where Vision is. Last time we saw Vision,
Super dead.
he was super dead. So that's another piece of like, oh, okay, something is not right here. So I enjoyed kind of seeing. I mean, the performance was great. A lot of the moments of humor came via with Elizabeth Olsen's performance. So yeah, I don't think that I have like very much to say, but in general, it is also just very like feelsy to see Wanda and Vision together
And
and like in
happy.
this and happy. And don't tell me they're gonna give this couple a kid that we're going to have to meet and love because I am going to lose my mind. But those were my primary feelings.
Yes, I agree that I'm definitely getting the sense that like this is ultimately her story. The vibe that I am getting, to just get like full speculation on this, yeah, I don't know,
Yes.
but the vibe that I am getting at this point is that there's a degree to which she is staying in this. Like one of the, I think the in the bit where HBIC Dottie smashes the glass and starts bleeding. The
Yeah.
interruption from the radio is like, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Is like what it's. Do you know who's doing this to you? I
Yes.
think I think it's there. Whatever. At some point, that's one of the interruptions. And I'm kind of getting the vibe that like she's, if it's not her doing it to herself, that she's at least a little bit complicit, that she's not resisting and she's leaning into it. It's particularly from the no, like the rewind, because like she's freaking out and then she just says no and then the rewind happens. So like I don't know, and I feel like yes, trauma, there's going to be like some like trauma and grief stuff kind of packed in there. Love a grief
Yes.
story. Love a grief story.
Yes.
So I'm maybe I'm projecting my wishes onto this, but that's like where I feel like we're going probably. But
Yeah, that was my like I mean, I think the two like primary guesses here are either Wanda has trapped herself or somebody has trapped Wanda. And I think that from what we've seen so far and just like again knowing the last time we saw Vision, he was super dead,
mhm.
that the odds of this being and because of the way that it's playing out, in terms of this being almost like wish fulfillment. They're just living a happy life and figuring out how to be normal from episode to episode. It really feels in line with Wanda has kind of trapped herself in this grief spiral, which is, I'm already crying about it, to be honest.
Poor Wanda and her grief spiral, and she's gonna make up a whole kid in her grief spiral. Oh my god. Yes. I also just I love her dearly. I love this character. I love this character particularly now that they've stopped forcing Elizabeth Olsen to do that stupid accent. That was one of my biggest gripes with Age of Ultron. That's the one where she first shows up. It was exasperating because she was otherwise fantastic, but every time she spoke, I was just like, why? Why are they making you have this? The place that you're from is fake. Like, it doesn't matter. That's a general. In Humans, we also had that as a recurring frustration. If you're having your super powered characters be from a fake place, just let them have their own voices. Don't make them do these bad accents. It's terrible. Yes, but
we we're getting to all of the characters, and I saw somebody or Nick say like Anya in the chat. So kind of jumping off that Buffy thing, it reminds me of the episode in Buffy where she's like trapped in her own, like, I don't know, where we don't know which one is the reality at the end of the episode. I want to
say Normal is the name of the episode.
Normal Again?
Normal Again. Yeah, Normal Again.
Yep.
I was like, Buffy, yep. Normal. And then Google said, do you mean Normal Again? Yes, Google.
And this has those vibes for sure.
Yes. 100%. That was definitely something that I was thinking, and like that takes it in sort of a slightly different direction of like Buffy is maybe leaning into it because of like definitely like not wish fulfillment, but more like her own trauma is like this could be true, like that sort of vibe. I feel like I have definitely seen versions of the, somebody else trapped the character there, but like they're into it for such and such reason, in a couple different places, but I'm blanking on good examples of that. Lock and Key did that. Anyway, so yeah, that's Nick also said, and yet we're stuck with American Cumberbatch. Yes. Also, I will stay mad. I will stay so mad about their decision to take this character who's just fucking Iron Man with magic and not at least you had such an obvious give me way to make him subtly different, and let him be British. Let him just be British. And also Benedict Cumberbatch's voice is lovely. Like, I don't.
Yes.
Why? Why, Marvel? Why do you keep doing this? Anyway, so that's some feelings on Wanda right now. I'm sure we're gonna have so many more. We're gonna have to rethink the structure of this because we're doing sort of our classic, like, how did you feel? But we can't keep doing that every week. So we'll think about this between now and next week. But while we're doing it this way, any major like thoughts, feelings about Vision in these first two episodes? I liked the degree to which it was like both of them, so like it's Bewitched, and like Bewitched is just Samantha, right? But like you have sort of both of them kind of adapting at the same time, yeah. Which I think was interesting. And I also think he had some really, really lovely comedic things. The gum thing, I thought it was hilarious. Like, I don't know what to tell you. I understand that a lot of people might not think it is hilarious, but I was into it. There's a tweet that hold on, let me see if I can figure out how to. I'm very stressed about the idea of sharing my screen, because it's, my whole screen. However, we'll give this a shot. I think this will do it. Yeah, this How to Kill Vision 101. And it's Thanos and then a pack of gum. So anyway, so that's delightful. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really enjoyed and this applies to both of them, but I enjoyed getting to see both of them get to be comedic too. That's the other thing. Like both of these characters are in universe very broody. They get moments to be sort of witty periodically, to have sort of like pithy, off the cuff comments, but otherwise they're not like these are not jovial characters. And so but like both of them are such phenomenal actors that it was really cool to get to see them doing this sort of fun slapsticky stuff. I watched an interview with both of them where they were talking about how much fun this was to shoot for that reason, and how I think Elizabeth Olsen said the fourth episode is the one and only time that the director told her to dial it back. So I can't wait. I can't wait to see what it is. Like, keep an eye out in the fourth episode for the moment where Elizabeth Olsen goes so ham that they had to rein her in. But that like otherwise it was constantly like just be sillier, or do more. And I think that I guess this is a little bit separate from the characters and more about the actors, but it was really cool to get to see both of them doing that. Those are both great.
Yeah, I definitely had the same feeling of like a lot of my chuckles came via Vision and his like fish out of water moments as well. Uh, anytime there's any office humor about what actually do we do here, hilarious. I love it. What actually are we doing here? And they have that moment that the guy's like, "You're basically like a computer." He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm made up of organic matter." And it was just so charming.
How dare you?
So yeah, how dare. So I agree that those moments were really funny.
Yes. Yeah. Love all the office humor.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, and his just like what? Yeah. It's good. It was very very good. Okay. So while we're talking characters, and I feel like this is also going to end up being more actors. My feelings here definitely skew as much actor as character. But Agatha, Catherine Hahn as Agatha, I loved her. I loved her. That's to go first. Catherine Hahn. This is like such a great use of her. Yeah, I don't know if I have anything more to say than that, but I was into it.
Yes. And again, some of those slapsticky moments, especially at like the dinner party of her going like out one door and in through the other, and like those big like physical moments, and her, Wanda chasing her around like the kitchen island trying to shoo her out. It was just, again, like very wholesome humor, like call back to simpler storytelling and like simpler times in a lot of ways. But all of these actors fit into the roles well. Like it never felt forced or out of place. And I'm excited to see if we get to see more of this character, especially in her role of like trying to guide Wanda, because she was the one who was like, okay, so what are you gonna do for your anniversary? I think you should wear this, and then she taking her to the meeting, she's like, you got to impress people. So she's almost acting as her like guide into like normal behavior and into the neighborhood. And I love that, because halfway through that episode she's like, why are we sober? And I'm like, same girl. Like,
yes.
So
yes. Yes, they gave her they gave her a lot of like great main character's best friend lines.
Yes, correct. So I'm excited. The character has a lot of potential to get Wanda into hijinks, but also kind of be that like almost snarky voice as well. So
yes, I also, for reasons related to the trailer, am also curious to see what becomes of this character. But to your point about her being like the guide, that's the other thing, going back to like Wanda and Vision just as characters. But just in general, they're sort of fish out of water, like, and it also like it fits too with sort of who they were like before, due to how Vision is not human, and Wanda, just in her like the trauma of her background, made both of them like they were already sort of outsiders, and that's like why they were so broody and like didn't really get to be happy or have fun. So yeah, I all of that to say that love a good fish out of water story as well.
yes,
And
yes.
and they are this is a very good kind of fish out of water story for those two characters. I feel like it fits. I support it. Other supporting characters, I guess now is Anya. We can now discuss Dottie. Emma Caulfield as Dottie. I like it was wild too because the first time that we see her is from pretty far away. It's like on the sidewalk and like there's like the processional of women leaving Dottie's house. And even like from that distance, as soon as we saw her face, my brain was like, the North remembers. Like we know who this is, and like truly, I don't think I've seen her in anything like Buffy. That's it. That's the only place I know her from. She's Anya, and also, but yes, she a very interesting character just in terms of how she's going to fit into the larger story here.
Like side characters are also like interesting in the fact that like okay they're building to something with like Dottie, right, like some sort of contention in the episode, right, where she's like the HBIC and you're like ooh okay, Wanda didn't make a good first impression, but we keep getting these resets because none of this is real. And so you've got to think that what does that mean for these characters? Are they
Mm-hmm.
like not real? Are they some sort of constructs that Wanda has put in place or whoever's keeping her has put in place? So there's almost like, we keep building these things. But then even with like Mr. and Mrs. Hart, when they come over for dinner, where there's that really weird loaded moment where he's choking to death. And like that, like loop keeps happening where they're just staring at each other. But then it's like, okay, bye. So it's like a reset of things that also ties into like the reset of the characters where I'm like, I don't know how to feel about any of you. You're all fake.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, I feel like that's also part of why it ends up drifting back to talking about the actors, especially, because it's just like, this also feels like it must have been such like a really fun show to make. I feel like that had to have been very fun for everybody to get to do.
yes.
I okay, I was like debating how what to say, but so Geraldine is also to what you're saying about like where stuff is going to go. Geraldine is a character that I would have put into that same category of like I don't know how to feel, what's going to happen, and I'm I don't. This is not a spoiler for these two episodes, so I want to tread lightly here. But the IMDb page for this actress for the show is a spoiler, I guess, about
What?
where this who she's credited. Yeah, the way that she's credited is a spoiler about that character that I am excited about. So that's my information that you can do something with that or you cannot. And I'm just gonna say that I'm excited. Full stop.
Well, now I'm looking it up because I also I didn't even watch a trailer for this at all. So I don't know what's in the trailer, and I obviously am like looking up the IMDb now, but that is the extent. I am receiving this as it comes.
And I feel like that's also really interesting too to go back to how do I make this go back away? Oh well. My when I put my cursor on the screen where Discord is, it like all of a sudden all the like end call, a bunch of other stuff pops up. But anyway, oh no, it doesn't because I have this little frame. The degree to which we're coming into it, like these things, I feel like also ties back to everything we said at the beginning about like the place that we were coming into this with. I'm the one who's like, well, here's all the things that I saw because I watched those interviews and I read all those reviews, and I have seen the IMDb page. So I knew going into this. I knew that thing before she was even introduced. So I was in fact surprised by her introduction for that reason. But anyway, Wikipedia is 2, Karen says in the chat. So Wikipedia, also be careful. I mean, I in general, I know that I don't care that much about spoilers, but I also feel like the whole thing that they're doing is just so like weird that I don't think it matters. Like I honestly do not see how like what that information is going. I guess that will potentially be a reveal. There's going to be a moment with a reveal, and you will have known about that reveal when that happens. But that still doesn't feel like you're learning anything significant about what's happening in this story. I might be. I guess maybe if you know the comics, then maybe it's telling you something about the story. But I don't know. I'm now turning this into fuck spoiler aversion.
Yes.
an old favorite topic.
This is taking a turn.
Anyway. Anything else that you would like to discuss about these first 2 episodes?
What else about these first 2 episodes?
I guess this is also a question for the chat too. If there's anything else that you would like us to discuss, we've kind of been responding in real time. But if there's anything that we haven't gotten to, while you are saying whatever you were about to say, I'll scroll back through and make sure we didn't miss anything.
I am excited to continue to see as they're doing this like TV show sitcom-y thing, just like the visual aspect of it, like the full black and white TV episodes for both, the costuming that was super retro and that sort of thing. It makes me think that if we continue to like jump decades and we get to like an 80s like time, like I'm so excited to see it visually represented if we do get there. Again, I don't know what's in the trailer, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But in general, it was just cool to see the way that they represented the sitcoms in the time periods.
Yes, I'm also very excited to see in general where they go with the like meta TV show stuff thing, which again is a very like, maybe you're into it, maybe you're like, okay, what's the point? I'm into it, so I am into it in a way that I don't even care if it has a point. Like it's just fun to me. So if the point is I had fun, okay. that's fine by me. I also, Karen just said the spoiler thing. It's an okay, but how spoiler. This thing happens, but how? And yes, like that's why I'm like, to me it didn't feel like I learned anything.
Correct. Okay. Yes. Which I have now successfully also laid mine eyes on the spoiler. So
I could have just typed it in the doc. I just realized I was like trying to figure out how to like alert you without making you go down a Google rabbit hole. But anyway, yeah, excited about where they go.
Yep.
Stressed about this child. I don't know how I feel about that.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about the child.
I don't want to say goodbye to a fake child. I don't want it.
Oh, so Nick is bringing up a comic-y thing that I don't know anything about. But he says with a small reveal that Sword is involved, and that's like we saw that in one of the, I think the control room, or was it the end of episode 2? I don't know. Sure, there's a thing that we saw at some point. We saw Sword, which didn't really mean anything to me, but yes, if you know things about the comics. But he says I wonder if this will be a spiritual successor to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That is a super interesting sort of thing. I talked about this a lot when we were talking about the MCU episodes, but like the sort of one-way dialogue between the movies and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it really was like to S.H.I.E.L.D.'s detriment. I think I would never encourage anybody to watch it because I think the first season is bad, and like I don't know, you shouldn't have to watch a bad season for a thing to become good. However, during these times when time has no meaning, if you do want to like slog your way through it, I will say the show does actually get progressively better, and it gets to the point where it is at its best when it finally it also does a timeline. The timelines get weird, and so they no longer are beholden to what is happening in the movies, and they just get weird, and I think it serves the show really, really well. But anyway, I bring all of that up to say that if it is, it will be interesting because of the way that this is like part of phase 4, and so like it'll actually sort of be part of things. to some degree, although it kind of seems like they're also setting up a way in which everything can be happening, very different things can be happening at once, is the sense that I'm getting, because the Doctor Strange movie is like something time. I don't remember the title, but something time is weird, is the gist of it. And then like Loki's show is him back in like 2012, during the time heist when he steals the thing. I'm really great at this. You know, the guy with the stuff and the
when he stole it.
I was less prepared than I thought.
Also, though, like the extent to which this is like, oh, we're like, ooh, it's being acknowledged, it's a TV show. It also is like a thing where very easily, depending on where it goes, it could just be nothing in the greater timeline, because this could all be happening in her head in the
Right.
matter of a day. Like it could very much be a side story of a matter of days or weeks where this happened to her, and now back to our regular programming. So they've also set themselves up in a really good way where they're like, look at this TV show tie-in, without having to actually contend with like larger MCU sort of things.
Yes, that is very true. It is well structured for that. I mean, well structured for that because they made all of these decisions years ago. I will say though, the timing in which it's being released, they really didn't need to do that because we can't fucking go anywhere. So it's really a great time to say, if you want to keep watching these movies, you got to watch our TV shows too. I'm like, okay, well, sure. I'm not doing anything.
Nothing else to do.
I had to sign up for this Disney Plus subscription anyway to watch whatever else you wanted to watch. The Mandalorian for most people, Disney Channel original movies if you're us.
Classic.
So, anyway, I feel like we did it. And is there any parting thoughts, last words?
No, no parting thoughts. I will just reiterate that I really stinking love these two weird episodes, and I'm excited to keep watching and figure out what's going on. But also, I'm not in a rush. Again, I'm not going anywhere. Take your time, WandaVision. I'll be here.
The Doctor Strange thing is Multiverse of Madness. Thank you, Nick. Karen says, now that we have you hostage. Yes, correct. That's the vibe. I also love these super weird episodes, and especially because they're so short.
Yes.
I feel like there's a non-zero chance that I will end up doing a fair bit of rewatching during this run. Maybe not like on like a weekly basis, but I feel like that is a thing that I'm gonna wind up doing because I already enjoyed this so much that I'm like, I could watch that again. It was an hour of my time. Like, I don't know. And what is my time anyway? So
that's the real theme of this recap reaction was, what is time? Disney Plus has us hostage.
And
we
really we're doing
here.
this so we can hang out and talk, because this is how we're having social time. This is it. This is me talking to my friend, and then inviting all of my other friends to join us in friendship time. So
see you again next week for friendship time.
Yeah. Yes. See you next week for friendship time. Thank you all for watching. Feel free, if you're watching this belatedly, leave some comments. As I'm sure you could tell, we were sort of like making this up. We're very, very much making this up as we go. So if you had any questions, or there were any things that you wished we had talked about but didn't, because I know a couple people said that they had not watched yet, because we're doing this very quickly. It's less than 24 hours after release. We're doing that because Saturday stuff always feels like it gets lost. So we're going to keep doing this on Fridays, and you can watch it later. But if you are watching it later, please let us know anything you wish we would have discussed, and we will talk about it next time. And on that note, that's the end. of this episode of SnarkSquad Pod. If you are enjoying this podcast,
no podcast outro.
Thank you guys for watching. Bye.